Why don't we always want what we have? And why is the forbidden fruit so desirable? Welcome to Passion Unlimited podcast. I am your host, psychotherapist, author, and founder of Fearless Love, Jianny Adamo. Last week, I spoke to you about having more sex in your relationship. And today, I will be continuing on the theme of sexual intimacy. Most couples start off with lots of passion and they cannot keep their hands off of one another. And in time, the chemistry levels out and responsibilities and rearing children takes center stage. If you're like many couples today, instead of making love to your partner, you are watching TV or taking your device to the bedroom. And you're a little humdrum in that department. So stay tuned because today I will be discussing how to create sexual desire in your relationship. We are going to be bringing the spark back in your marriage. All right, so probably like half of the clients that I get to see come in with the sexual intimacy as an issue because one partner no longer has sexual desire. Like somebody just kind of like, it just, the fire kind of got snuffed out a little. So this is an issue that I do work with a lot, and I'm very comfortable in working with my couples and bringing back their spark and bringing back their intimacy. It brings me a lot of joy actually to work with them. All right, so today I want to go through first the factors that affect your sexual desire. So first we're going to start out with the external factors. And believe it or not, the first thing that comes into play is your family of origin, your culture, and your religion. Okay, these three pieces of the puzzle take pretty much center stage on your views around sexual intimacy and expression of sexuality and sensuality and affection. Then we add that to those external factors, also Hollywood and the media. And as you know, today, we are bombarded with social media and just the regular TV and the movies and the streaming. It just comes to us in so many forms and shapes, plus obviously all the apps that we've got now for hookups and dating and whatever else we want to find. Oh, pornography, whatever. So all of these things are external factors that affect how we see sensuality, sexuality, and affect how we desire our partner, or in our relationship, how we desire them. The internal factors would be hormones. The first one would be hormones. Here, women's desire peak when they're ovulating, while the men's testosterone peaks when they're surrounded by ovulating women. It's like, this is so like animal kingdom. These are things that are controlled by the subconscious, not your frontal lobe. It's not in your, conscious mind. Obviously, your values dictate your level of desire because, again, your values are coming from your family of origin. They're coming from your religion and your spirituality. And all the mass media and Hollywood things that you're feeding yourself with, that's going to affect your values as well. All right, so internal factors, we're discussing now the internal factors. The largest, do you know what the largest and the biggest sex organ is? That would be your brain. Because the brain allows you to come alive with your imagination. It engages you into a fantasy world where you can get lost, where you can be and act and do things that you normally would not do. So actually engaging your imagination, engaging your ability to dream and move into illusions and fantasies, that feeds your ability to desire as well. So allowing yourself to be free there and engaging your imagination also increases and gives us a lot of more boost to having sexual desire. All right. Other factors that affect us having a high level of sexual desire or not would be finding a balance between security and freedom. Here, some of us come out of our family of origin needing more freedom, while some of us come out of our family of origin needing more security. I had seen a woman named Anne, we're going to call her Anne, obviously, for confidentiality purposes, many years ago. Anne had a very high need for structure. She needed a lot of predictability and everything needed to be organized. She was basically a little on the OCD. Everything had to be in a very specific place. There was a high need for security and safety. And unfortunately, she had denied herself her need for adventure and fun. So she was basically all work and no play. So a lot of responsibility. She carried a high workload in the office. She had a high position where she worked. Again, super responsible, super, taking care of everything. And ultimately she married, or her first husband, because she has had 2 marriages. Her first husband provided her that high level of security that she really needed. She needed everything for him to be super reliable and dependable. And unfortunately, there was very little mystery or adventure or sex in that marriage. So guess what happened? Anne was bored with her marriage, her first marriage. We worked on her, some of her issues. We found out where she got stuck on needing so much security and not having the balance for some mystery and challenge and a little chaos, because a little chaos is okay. Anyways, so Anne moved on from there. She has since married a second marriage, and she's much happier there because there's a lot more balance now between her need for security and her need for freedom. Another client that I want to talk to you about that I've worked with, we're going to call him Larry. Larry came from an abusive household. His father was very abusive to him and his siblings, as well as Larry's mom. It was not a safe place for Larry to be seen, to be heard. His needs were seen as needy. He wanted too much. He was basically told the minute Dad came home that he needed to be outside. Dad didn't even want to see his children inside of his home, which is so weird. So anyway, Larry had to go mow lawn and go help the neighbors with stuff because he was not allowed to even be home and feel safe. Okay, so Larry grew up with this huge fear of commitment. He has a high need for risk, adventure, mystery, for the unknown and surprise. And unfortunately for Larry, he created a secret life outside of his marriage because he's had a secret life from childhood in order to survive, that unfortunately turned into a sex addiction for Larry, because he takes his sexual desire outside of the home. For him, it's not safe to bring his sexual desires to his marriage. So Larry today is still dealing with a sex addiction, and he's under the care of another therapist who handles sex addiction. But that's the extreme where he divided himself completely, and the need for risk and adventure and mystery goes off with his sexual desire, and it cannot be brought home, and it's created its own life. It's created its own life through an addiction. All right. Third client that I want to talk to you about, or just kind of like give you a little overview, is Kimberly. Again, these are not real names. Kimberly had two fathers. The first one, her biological dad, she never met. He abandoned the family. And so mom remarried. And unfortunately, the stepdad also was emotionally and physically absent in her life. So she grew up with this void with the dads. And unfortunately, the mom is intrusive, controlling, and manipulative. So Kimberly became the center of her mother's life and ended up getting a ton of attention. And unfortunately, a lot of it was controlling, like I said, and manipulative and intrusive. So Kimberly grew up suppressing herself. She is she's inhibited and has difficulty expressing herself or showing any affection. So for Kimberly, she's got a very low sex drive, and she's in a relationship with a man who does have a very wild side, very adventurous side, very spontaneous. He loves having fun. He's quite magnetic. And so here the opposites attract, because any part of you that you have suppressed, usually you will seek out in your partner. So your partner is going to be exhibiting all those parts of you that you have felt unsafe to exhibit and bring forth into this world. And normally those things make us attracted to one another, and then we attack them in our relationship. So then Kimberly will become very critical of her partner, who is so carefree and so adventurous. But she is super controlled, inhibited, but yet she's super responsible human being. So there's this give and take that's going on, or this pushing and pulling. All right, some other factors. Okay, so Kimberly and her partner and her boyfriend are working through those intimacy issues right now. And some of the things that they're working through right now are the things that I'm going to be discussing with you. So another factor to consider is togetherness versus separateness when it comes to desirability and increasing desire in your relationship. Okay, so we are wired to resonate with our sexual partner's energy, and to become one with our partner, whether it's in our bed or in our head, is pretty normal. Sexual ecstasy is often described as an experience of fusion, of losing our boundaries and losing ourselves inside of another person. Okay? So in healthy sexuality, we can surrender to our longing and our desire for sex and sexual intimacy without feelings of guilt or anxiety. That means that the fears of being used, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of rejection, the fear of abuse, they don't come into play. For some, especially for some of the good guys, some of the fears that you guys may be feeling is you don't want to hurt your partner. So that fear too has to go away for you to feel completely uninhibited. And for maximum sexual arousal, you have to ultimately let go and surrender and feel uninhibited to find a healthy tension between the selfish desire for longing for that gratification and the need for caring for your partner. Because a loving human being, that just guides us. We want to love and care and make our partner feel comfortable in our love. So we need to find that balance between the selfish desires and the caring and loving need to make our partner happy. Another factor to consider when we're looking at desirability and desire and increasing sexual desire is love versus desire. Love represents a sense of belonging. It represents security. Love helps us to define our identity. And I know that for those of us who have grown up, especially the millennials and the younger generation who have grown up in a world where individuality has taken center stage above family, which is a shame because the bedrock of healthy development comes from a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship where children are reared with love and respect and a commitment to family. Okay, so love represents, once again, your sense of belonging, your sense of security, and it helps to form your identity. Desire, on the other hand, is a wanting and it's fleeting. Okay, so today you may want chocolate ice cream, but tomorrow you may want cookies and cream. That is desire. Desire is founded on adventure, fun, spontaneity, mystery, the unknown, risk, novelty, challenge. All of this feeds desire, feeds the adventure spirit in you. So for anyone who has experienced any kind of attachment trauma in childhood, meaning, or even in your adult relationships, meaning you have parents who unfortunately neglected you, that you might have experienced physical abuse or emotional abuse or even sexual abuse in childhood, then we've grown up with attachment trauma. And in that case, it's not safe for us to bring our desires home. So normally we suppress those desires, or they go into a secret life. And this is where we talked about Larry. He developed a secret life, and that secret life turned into a sex addiction that he's still trying to manage today. So for most people, we do have parts of ourselves that are unacceptable, and therefore they are suppressed. And these are called the shadow self. This is the shadow self for us. And intimacy becomes scary to us because it opens up the channels to our wounded selves from childhood and our unmet needs from, when younger years. And then from there, our brain is continuously working towards seeking completion. So meaning finding healing and restoration. Your brain is always trying to find a way to fix that and to resolve it, but it needs a safe person to do it. So in a healthy marriage, in a healthy partnership, this is a place where you can allow yourself to be vulnerable and be seen, and allow those parts of you that have not been expressed to be embraced, to be loved, to be accepted. But unfortunately for most of us, those unmet needs and suppressed parts of ourselves represent shame. Therefore, there's lots of layering of psychological defenses and sometimes mental health issues that come around and do not allow you or your partner to kind of penetrate those areas that need to be expressed and be brought to the light and healed. Thus, bringing our desire to our partner becomes scary. All right, so how do you create sexual desire within your marriage? Because this is why you're listening. You want to know, like, okay, now I get why I don't have all this sexual desire in my marriage, or why my partner doesn't have all this sexual desire in their marriage or their relationship with you. But now, like, what can we do about this? I will never get tired to tell you the number one thing is to become intentional. I want you to become intentional about finding the balance between security and freedom. We talked about security and freedom. I want you to get your balance there. Because if you're too heavy on your need for security and organization, and everything every I has to be dotted and every T has to be crossed, and it's almost to the OCD department, then that's going to snuff out the passion. Okay? So looking for balance between security and freedom. The second thing I want you to consider is own your wanting. It is super hot and super sexy for you to long for your partner, for you to desire them. But that's only going to happen if you give yourself the permission to want. And it's okay to want and need and desire. But unfortunately, again, being raised in this hyper individuality culture that we live in here in the US, that represents shame. To be longing and desiring and wanting somebody so much, it represents shame for us. So we need to lose the shame and embrace vulnerability. So own your wanting. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, become more self-aware about your sex drive. So what does that mean? Okay, what that means is we're going to ask ourselves a few questions to figure out what that means. So being that I'm the therapist, I always ask questions. I'm going to have a few questions for you. So the first question that I want you to ask yourself is, I turn myself off when? I turn myself off when? Not my partner turns me off when. I turn myself off when? Maybe the answer to that is when I work too much, when I watch the news at night, when I feel fat, when I feel like a failure. You see how these things, all of us, just me saying this, you're like, oh yeah, like there's no way I would want to feel sexy or even sexual or desire anything just considering all these statements. Okay, the next question I want you to ask yourself is, I feel sexy when? And consider that. Maybe an example of that would be when I dance, when I exercise, when I watch a romantic movie, when I take a hot bath or a hot shower, when I take breaks throughout the day, when I listen to music, when I get my hair done. So you fill in the blanks. Like, I feel sexy when? The next question I want you to ask yourself is, when am I most drawn to my partner? Maybe the answer to that would be when my partner penetrates my gaze with his eyes. When her eyes are alive with passion. How about when he's engaged with another person? How about when he laughs or she laughs? When we dance? And what about when we are apart and then we reunite? Some of those are really good to help us feel like we desire our partner. And the number one thing that usually increases desirability in us and in our partner is your sense of confidence. This is why being confident, restoring your self-worth, your self-esteem is so important. Also, body language is important when it comes to sexual desire. So again, body language that speaks of confidence and self-worth is a lot more appealing and desirable than body language that's like down and out and just like not having much energy. Okay, so it is in committed relationships, everyone, that vulnerability is safe. That means that striking a balance between companionship and passion creates a foundation for healthy intimacy and helps us to fulfill our greatest potential. This is season 3 of Passion Unlimited podcast, and I am on a relationship reboot series to help you to go from surviving to thriving in love, life, and relationships. So please subscribe. Please subscribe. You can find me on YouTube under Fearless Love, and you could also email me at fearlesslove.net. Actually, at Jianny@fearlesslove.net, but you can go to my website and you can click on a free 15-minute consultation if you want to talk with me. You can also subscribe to my podcast on anywhere you hear your podcasts. And right now, I am working on releasing the audiobook to my book, From Love Trauma to Fearless Love. Right now, my target release date would be Halloween 2020. So it's coming around at the end of next month. So anyways, I hope that you are enjoying these episodes. Please comment, please share, and I will speak to you next time.